Welcome to Renegade Conversations. This is Season 4, Episode 24. My next guest is Shelly Elsliger. As a child, Shelly lost her voice to a bully. As an adult, she awoke that silence to become an advocate and powerful force against bullying on LinkedIn. Shelly has become an agent of change focused on the diversity, equity, and inclusion. I can't wait to hear more of Shelly's story of embracing her renegade self. My name is Meryl Cook. I'm an artist, a renegade, and the host and creator of Renegade Conversations. My mission is to provide thought-provoking, fearless, and fun discussions with remarkable female rebels who are shaking things up in their respective fields. My hope is to make you question the norms and ignite your own renegade spirit. This episode of Renegade Conversations is sponsored by my wearable art clothing line. I've partnered with a local company in Montreal, Canada, to have photos of my artwork placed on elegant clothing. When you place an order, your piece is printed one at a time and sewn locally, the slow fashion way. I'll show you some pieces and tell you more about it at the break. My next guest is Shelly Elsliger. Shelly is an engaging, globally recognized LinkedIn trainer and president of LinkedIn Express. She coaches executives, leaders, diverse departments, job seekers, and corporate teams, inspiring them to maximize their professional branding potential and social influence online. Shelly is a certified coach, author, and member of the International Coach Federation and Career Professionals of Canada. She is recognized as a woman you need to know by the National Women Speakers Association, a woman of achievement, a Forbes writer, a woman of inspiration recipient, and on the global list of LinkedIn training experts and trusted speaker for LinkedIn Canada. Shelly started a campaign on LinkedIn called #DecideToBeKind. Her signature workshop in LinkedIn is LinkedIn in High Heels, empowering women to rise high on LinkedIn and find their voice while understanding how to power through barriers that may present themselves, imposter syndrome, and the onslaught of bullies who you may pass along the way. So welcome, Shelly. Welcome. You and I met first on LinkedIn about a year ago, and then more recently, we met for lunch on the Halifax Harbor at the Wooden Monkey. We had so much to talk about, and the end result of that conversation was that I booked you as a guest on this podcast, and you encouraged me to apply to speak at Disrupt HR Halifax, which I did. By the time this episode airs, I will have spoken about Renegade Reboot, Unleash Your Power and Purpose, in this next stage. Thanks for agreeing to hop on Zoom to have this conversation with me. We have so much to talk about.
We do. Thank you.
So Shelly, have you always been a renegade?
I think I've always been a renegade in the sense that when I was younger, I was this kind of, I had a superwoman costume when I was really young. I got it when I was like about 3 or 4, and I wore it every single day. It didn't have to be Halloween or anything. I wore it all the time. And I was known for that by the neighbors and everybody in the village, because I grew up in New Brunswick in a very small village. So everybody, knows everybody. And I was the one with the Supergirl costume that wore it even when it wasn't Halloween. So I feel there was a little bit of renegade in me when I was very young. But I think that the renegade came out in me because of my story and about, being a child who had a bully. I think the renegade came out in me later in life when I was able to find my voice again, because I lost my voice because of a bully. But I turned all of that adversary into something positive. And that's when I decided that I would just go forward with that and not let any naysayers or not let anybody stand in my way. I was going to champion an advocate against bullying. And I just decided on, and I think it really like it started before COVID, but I think COVID really gave me the, I guess showed me where the space would be that I could find that would be good for me
Yes.
to try something different and really advocate against bullying. So that's what happened during COVID.
Awesome, awesome. And so tell me about that actual bullying incident, because I think it's a really super interesting story. So you were already a speaker. You were out there speaking at age 8, I believe. And then what happened?
Yeah, I started to speak very young. I loved public speaking. I loved being on the stage. I used to act too, like I would go in all of the little plays and I loved memorizing. I just, that was the kind of kid I was. And then so we had a lot of little public speaking engagements. I had a coach when I was, in grade 4. And this continued right up until, grade 6. And in grade 6, I actually entered a contest, and all of the parents were in the audience. I mean, everybody from the community in the audience, because that's what you do when you grow up in a small little village.
Yeah,
So you walk to
absolutely.
school and everybody comes to see you when there's
Yeah.
something going on. So I was actually speaking about empathy. That was my topic. And I got up on stage and I had my first pair of red high heels ever. And got up on stage and I saw my bully sit in the front row. And I got immediately anxious. I was always anxious when she was around, but I got really anxious this day and I got called up to do my speech. And as soon as I got up to do mine and get ready, and I had these little cue cards, and I never needed cue cards, but my coach would say, take them anyway, Shelly, you never know, just keep them there. And I had all of these little cue cards just there for kind of like safety, and or if I missed something, I could go back to the cue cards. And so I was getting ready, and as soon as I got up, my bully stood up and said, Shelly Welly with the great big belly. Okay. And I remember I just stood there and my face got really red and my cue cards fell to the ground and I lost it. I couldn't remember anything. And I ran out the side where there was like kind of a big curtain. But in all of the, my frantic state, I lost one of my heels.
Oh.
And the heel went underneath, I think, the stage. I just never found it. I took off the other heel. I kept the other heel, the other high heel, and I went home. And because everything is close, like half a kilometer. The school was from my house, so I ran home and I said that I would never speak on stage again. I would never public speak. I would never, and I didn't. I didn't. I didn't until I was older. It affected me a lot. It even affected my character. I became this, I didn't wear the Superwoman costume again, Supergirl costume. I didn't wear it. I didn't, I just didn't, I was different. I changed from this happy-go-lucky kid that swarmed and loved people to being quite quiet actually, and not wanting to be seen. That's how it, or I would say junior high, because I went from elementary to junior high and then high school. In junior high, it was not a great space for me to be in because it was like, living a different life. And I guess, trying to be that chameleon, but very, very tough on a kid to have to live that way.
And so had a really lasting impact. And then was it when COVID happened that you started to come out of that, or was it a little bit before that?
Oh no, like it started before that, but I think I didn't really know, like, I've been training people in various respects. I mean, I'm a career development specialist, I'm a LinkedIn specialist. I have my hands in a few pots, as they say. That's just who I am. I've always been like that as well. So, but I've been doing LinkedIn training for 20 years. And I've always had this idea of making sure that people know where to go when they need help. That's always been something that was big for me. But during COVID, I decided that, well, so bullying increased on LinkedIn during COVID, during the COVID.
Interesting.
The level of bullying in general decreased, but the level of bullying online or cyberbullying, especially on LinkedIn and with adults. So, and that's because a lot of people ended up not being without work, the challenges around work. So it tended to be there tended to be a lot more, I guess, anxiety around not having employment, maybe seeing other people get employment. So it just seemed that the numbers rose. So it was a difficult time, and something just came to me, and it said, this is the time to pull people together. This is the time to find a campaign or a movement that can bring people together. And so I thought a lot about it, and I came up with this Decide to Be Kind campaign, which was really about just bringing people together globally. And we had a group, we did postings and videos. We just did a lot, so we had these bracelets, and I don't know if you can see them well, but these were the Decide to Be Kind bracelets.
Nice.
And I had over 1,500 of these bracelets travel through mainly the USA. So the whole movement would be that somebody would receive a bracelet, do a little video, and LinkedIn, the algorithm likes videos. So do a video, Decide to Be Kind, and give your own message on, maybe tell a story, maybe something happened to you, maybe something resonated with you. Talk about your own experience, or bring something to light about this campaign and how LinkedIn has to remain a positive, influential, inclusive space.
Lovely. Well, thank you. And Shelly, what impact has being a renegade had on your life and your career? So what opportunities and challenges has it presented?
I think being a renegade, and I really don't listen too much about I get a lot of not like naysayers and stuff about LinkedIn and about the power of LinkedIn and the effectiveness of LinkedIn, and that people don't really necessarily have to be on LinkedIn. I mean, it comes with a lot of this role is kind of like you're up against a lot of naysayers. You do, I shouldn't say we do, I do. I'm up against a lot of naysayers, but I pushed through it just like I pushed through anything in my life. The incident that I had as a child has pushed me into the idea that I don't have to conform. I don't have to only do what is expected. I can go above and beyond. So I'm on LinkedIn not only to help people with their profile optimization and their experience. I'm there to maybe talk about the things that are not so light and not so much fun. So yes, we want to be on LinkedIn and we want to get a job, or we want to increase awareness around our business, or we want to build a network that's going to support us. These are all good, and I am the first person that's going to help you understand how to do that effectively. But I'm also that person who's going to bring in the reality of LinkedIn with over 1 billion people, 22 million in Canada, over 17,000 in Halifax. And it's focused on Halifax mainly because that's where most of the people on LinkedIn are. There are things that you have to realize and be aware of. And I don't do any training without also bringing that aspect into it.
Right.
So a lot of people want, they're going into LinkedIn thinking, oh, I want to know all the good stuff. I want to be a LinkedIn expert in the next day, and I want to have be part of the 500 club. And
right. All that stuff.
people coming my way in my business. I want, I want my business to raise to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
there.
cool. And so being a renegade then and being outspoken in the way you have been has brought you in front of lots of people. So it has presented some nice opportunities, I'm assuming.
Well, it's actually presented it's a few opportunities. So number one, I am doing more speaker engagements,
Mhm.
and because people don't know about it, and I can inform them on a topic that is definitely something they should know about and
Mhm.
probably don't know about,
Yeah,
especially the pod aspect of it. It's also led me into another career in equity, diversity, and inclusion because
nice.
I'm all about equity. I'm all about equity on LinkedIn. So it's funny how that has led to me. It's gone from being equitable on LinkedIn and being diverse and inclusive on LinkedIn
Right,
to what I do, about the environments that we find ourselves in and how we can
yeah,
make it more, with the foundation of DEI principles. Uh,
right, right.
so it's led that. It's also led
Awesome.
me to I have a massive network and a wonderful following of people that I can rely on and people that
Mhm.
can rely on me. So there's
Mhm.
something said about community because I'm a community person.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. Mhm.
So it's brought you a community of like-minded people as well. Awesome, awesome. So we're going to take a short break right here, just to hear from our sponsor today. And when we come back, I'll have some fun questions for you. This episode of Renegade Conversations is sponsored by Meryl Cook Wearable Art Clothing. I've partnered with a local company in Montreal, Canada, to have photos of my artwork placed on elegant clothing. When you place an order, your piece is printed one at a time with minimal waste and sewn locally the slow fashion way. Find the link to my clothing at merylcook.ca/shop. So welcome back from our break. And Shelly, I have the first question I have for you is, did you bring a drink to share?
I did. So here is my drink. And it is a combination of Zevia and Fizz from Arbonne. And I drink it every day because I'm not a big water drinker, but I need to have more fluids. So I started this little regime and I actually fill a, a bigger cup, a cup on the go. And then, but I like a smaller glass to drink from. So I actually pour it throughout the day and drink my Zevia, which you can buy at all the health food stores. And now you can buy it pretty much anywhere. It got to be cream soda. I only like the cream soda. Cream soda Zevia. And the fizz is you can order through Arbonne, and it has all kinds of electrolytes and feel good stuff. And
Cool.
I like
Oh,
the
good.
I like the strawberry. I like all kinds. So yeah.
Nice. Well, we'll put links to that in our show notes so that people can find it themselves. So tell me, in grade two, what kind of a kid were you?
In grade two, I was I was not shy. I would, and I was not scared to try new things. Absolutely not. I would go in, like I said, with my little outfit, my little Wonder Girl outfit or Supergirl outfit, and I didn't care what anybody thought. I was pretty, and I was speaking even in grade two, just maybe not on the big stage, but I would go up in front of the classroom, and I was very animated. I'm animated again. I
Yeah,
lost my little animation for my animated self for a while, but I'm animated now. Like even when
yeah,
I do any kind of training now, so that was evident back in when I was a youngster, but definitely in grade two. That's when
nice.
that when
Oh,
I think of myself, then yes.
yeah,
So
lovely, lovely. So is there a line or a shape that would define you? And if so, what would that look like? So if someone were to draw you or you were to draw yourself, what would the line or shape look like?
well, it's certainly not straight. It's curvy and it's all kinds of probably different ways to get, like if you can add on to the line and there's different ways. I really I like doing a variety of things. I have a lot of interest. So and even now that shows up. Like right now I do LinkedIn training. I'm a career development specialist. I work in DEI. I always have different things. Same as sports. I curl, I play pickleball, I golf.
Yeah.
So I never really have only one thing. I just
Uh-huh.
always have a variety of things. And I would
So
like
your
to.
line would look curvy and lots of pieces coming off of it or into it, or how would it look?
And when another piece comes along, I'll take it. I'm a risk taker. I will always do something once. The only thing I wouldn't do was bungee jumping, and I'm just worried that that the fall, I'm just worried about my back. Not that I wouldn't do bungee jumping, it's just I feel like I don't want to risk hurting my back.
Right.
But it's not the thing itself. It's just that tension
The
from doing a bungee.
consequence.
But
Yeah.
no,
Awesome.
I'll pretty much do anything that comes my way. I'll at least try it once and then I'll make a decision.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Thank you. And Shelly, what advice do you have for people who want to access more of their inner wild self or their renegade self? How would you suggest they get started?
I think you have to take risks. You even have to take risks on LinkedIn.
Uh-huh.
Like people are, I feel like people are sometimes scared to show too much of themselves or be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like many people, and I'll just use LinkedIn for example, people do not connect with robots. People connect with humans. Even people don't connect with business professionals, they connect with the human first. And then the
Mhm.
business can come after.
Yes.
You have to build trust. So you have to be more trusting. Even if your trust has been challenged, you
Mhm.
have to bounce do something to make it bounce back.
Mhm.
Then something will happen to help you to trust again. And
Mhm.
trust will always be challenged. In our lives, our trust is always going to be challenged. But just put yourself into kind of like when that happens, just make sure you have something that says, okay, I'm going to let it bounce back to me. I'm going to give it away. I'm not going to feel very good, but I'm going to also open myself up to have it come back to me.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think what happens there is that when we are disappointed or when something happens, we don't consume ourselves with that one incident and allow that incident to take over.
And
And
to
that's what
find,
happens
yeah.
to a lot of us.
Mhm. Mhm.
And but if you
Absolutely.
think about the boomerang, a boomerang, you throw it out, it comes
Yeah.
back. And if we have that kind of boomerang effect in our lives when it comes to
Mhm.
trust,
Yeah.
then we don't go into every situation with a feeling of untrust or lack of trust.
Right.
Because when we do that, we don't open ourselves up to the
Right.
possibilities.
Right.
And we often go into those situations. So when I do LinkedIn training, it comes up and I'll see the people and I'm all excited and I'm, doing my animated Shelly self, but I see everybody with their arms crossed and they're ready to say, no, like I gotta, I can't give myself up to LinkedIn, like I can't really
Yeah.
show anything. And that's because there's a lack of trust.
Yeah.
So I really think that that's something we put on ourselves. We're always
Uh-huh.
going to have situations where our trust is tested,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
always think of it as a boomerang, and then something else is going to come back and your trust is going to be gained again. Right.
Nice. Nice. So you have take risks, be vulnerable, and think about bouncing back with the boomerang effect and be open to possibilities. Those are that's your advice. Yeah.
Mhm.
Lovely. Lovely. And do you have a favorite renegade, Shelley?
I do.
Uh-huh.
Jane Goodall.
Oh,
And I'm a big animal lover,
yeah.
big
Uh-huh.
animal advocate. And I've actually met her 3 times.
Nice.
Pleasure to be in her presence and to listen to her and all of the challenges this woman has endured trying to help not only like apes, but animals in general. And
Mhm.
the risks that she took as a young teenager and going against what people put in her path.
Yeah.
And she did it because she believed in advocating for animals and advocating for apes, but she loves all animals.
Right.
And advocates for animals in general, but apes,
Nice.
she definitely advocated. So meeting her was truly, I can't even describe it.
Nice. Oh, lucky you. And you met her more than once. That's awesome. That's
Three times.
awesome. Awesome. Nice. And Shelly, do you have a question for me?
Well, if I guess because you talk a lot about to other renegades, what is probably the thing that a renegade has told you that influenced you the most in your life, and that you actually, somebody told you something and you took that piece of advice and
Mm.
integrate it into your own renegade life?
Well, I would say that that's a hard question, but um, I think I was inspired by renegades from a very young age. So one of my early memories was being at the Balmoral pool close to the community where I lived in. And our friend's older sister was a lifeguard. And she was quite a renegade. So she was smoking cigars, and she was um, only shaving parts of her legs and letting the other parts grow in. And I mean, I just have never forgotten that young woman. And I probably was 10 or 11. And I think the message that I got from her was just be yourself and really go for it. And yeah, so that's certainly one of the renegade messages that I've gotten. And my other renegade favorite was Carole King. And
Okay.
I really admired the way she just used her voice and wrote her music, and she just against many odds. So yeah, I don't know if I answered that question, but
Yes.
yeah, thank you very much.
It's unforgettable. You never really forget when something happens, that renegade comes into
Yeah,
into your vision.
yeah,
And
yeah. No, I was totally inspired by this girl's sister and this renegade lifeguard. And I have no idea where she is at this point in her life, but it was pretty fabulous. So is there anything else that we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention? I think you had a story about your red heels, and I wondered if you'd like to show us
oh,
something about that.
so the other thing that I've always been, influenced by is just helping women in general. I think because, you know, the majority of people harassed on LinkedIn and with um, are women.
Yeah.
And, that can go from, so I'll just tell a little bit about my story if you don't mind, but I had a bully in my adult years on LinkedIn. And every time I would post something, it started with, I had given advice to people not to post their resume on LinkedIn, except if you're applying for a job.
Mhm.
Do not put your resume on LinkedIn, because when you do that, that is setting yourself up for identity fraud.
Mhm.
And anybody can download your resume. So I don't think you want everybody to have your resume. And this woman in the HR space, is surprisingly enough, decided that that was going to be a topic that she was going to challenge me on, but not simply challenge me, really, really challenge me to the point of I think she wanted to make me cry, and give in to her and said, no, you can post your resume. And I said, no, I'm not, I'm coming from a place of knowledge. And also I know, based on fraud on LinkedIn, that you don't want to put your resume up there.
Mhm.
So it's coming from a place of knowledge. But every time I posted after that, I would be challenged, and not in a nice way. And she
Mm.
would bring people into the conversation, and she would basically call me names right out, right out. And it was very, very stressful. I would get anxiety every time I would go, and it brought me back to when I was a kid about
Mm.
that happening. And I said,
Right.
no, Shelly, you're not going back there. You know what to do. And so I did I have my little checklist of what I do when somebody is bullying on LinkedIn. And that's exactly what I did. I, got in contact with LinkedIn. I had screenshots, I had everything, and I made sure to let them know. And she was put in LinkedIn jail for a bit of time, because that's what they will do. If they do feel that that person is going against the user agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that. And it's an example of what happened to me, but it's an example that what happens to lots of women out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened because of LinkedIn, and like what happened to me when I was a kid, my mother actually saved my other shoe. So when I came home with the one shoe, she saved it. And she didn't give me the other shoe, which is this shoe. She didn't give that to me for a long time, until I was actually an adult.
Uh-huh.
And I had already started this. My signature workshop is LinkedIn and high heels for women business leaders. And it came about because I wanted to inspire women that no matter what comes your way, whatever challenges come your way, you stand up, and you rise up to the occasion. You put on, you gain confidence, you do it, you don't let anybody take that away from you. You have a space on LinkedIn, and the shoe represents rising for yourself, rising up, not letting anybody or anything anybody says stand in your way, and doing what you need to do to protect your space on LinkedIn or your space offline. Anything I do on LinkedIn also goes for offline as well.
Absolutely.
Online. And so LinkedIn and high heels represents for me something that I am so passionate about, because it also, that's another thing that I do, that I've been trying to empower women, especially young aspiring women who, are coming in pretty vulnerable and not understanding, and have a little bit of fear or anxiety around LinkedIn. And my gift is to not only learn how to do LinkedIn effectively, but learn what you can do to make yourself find that space that represents everything that you have, all of that good stuff that you have, that you can send out to the world.
Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool. And I'll put a link to that if there's something on LinkedIn that people can follow or look at on your profile. I'll put a link in the show notes for that.
Yeah, I mean, everything. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn, so that's usually the best way to find me. And I usually post about that. And yeah, I post a lot about LinkedIn and high heels, because it's very passionate about.
Excellent. Well, Shelly, thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation with me. I've really enjoyed it, and I know that our listeners are going to enjoy it as well. So thanks again.
Oh, thank you for having me. I enjoyed our time at Wooden Monkey, and I enjoyed our time today, and wishing you good luck at Disrupt HR. It's an amazing opportunity, and you're going to do amazing.
Thanks so much. I hope hearing how Shelly turned a childhood incident of bullying into advocating for kindness and anti-bullying in the professional space has inspired you to embrace more of your renegade self. If you need a little help getting started, please reach out to me. This episode was sponsored by my wearable art clothing line. Whether you're looking for a distinctive piece for a networking or special event, or you love all things fiber and are thrilled to see photos of hand-hooked, hand-spun, hand-dyed, textured fibers on elegant clothing, find the link to my clothing at merylcook.ca/shop. Be sure to subscribe to Renegade Conversations. It's available on my YouTube channel at Meryl Cook Artist as a video. Or if you prefer to listen to the audio version, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Look for Renegade Conversations. Thanks so much for listening and sharing this episode.